In this video, we are learning how to use longitude and latitude. The point of this is so that we can find locations on Earth. We will use these in each one of the mapping labs. This one corresponds to Challenge 1 for Canada and the United States. I will be going through the first 5 on this video just to make sure that we know how to use longitude and latitude properly and how to mark it properly on your sheets. Unfortunately, I'm not able to get the coordinates on here at the same time, so I will just be working with the actual sheet that you will fill out. I will list the coordinates and the number for you so you know which one it corresponds to. Number 1, the Rocky Mountains. The coordinate on your sheet say that it is 45 degrees north and 110 degrees west. Now, as always, we always want to start from the bottom left corner of our map down over here. And we can see that we have 10 degrees north, 20 degrees north, 30 degrees north, 40 degrees north, 50 degrees north, and then look at this one at 60 degrees north, how it curves around. Up here, we have 70 degrees north, and here we have 80 degrees north. Now, corresponding with that, we also have our longitudinal lines. They run from left to right, starting all the way over here, and then working all the way over here to the right. If we look all the way up here at the very top, all right, we can see that we have 180 degrees west, 170 west, and we see that that corresponds and goes all the way up through here. 160 west, 170 west, 150 west, this is 140 west, and then it goes all the way across to here. We have 90 or 80 degrees west, 70 degrees west, and notice how these lines run from here and then all the way up to this top circle. Now this tells us in the very middle here, this should be the North Pole, which is 90 degrees north. And notice how these lines, these are latitude lines. They are running and they're following this curvature of the Earth. Always following this curvature. And then our longitude lines do the same thing. They're running all the way up to here. So our first one, which is 45 degrees north and 110 degrees west, that we have to find. We're going to always start with our latitude line. This is 40, and then this line is 50, so I want to find a spot in the middle. Now, your first knee-jerk reaction is to get to this spot right here and then follow straight across. And I'll show you what that might look like. If I go to 45, I go across like this. However, this does not take us to the right spot because we're not following the curves of these lines. So what we actually have to do is bend with that line so that it'll actually follow the correct curve. Now, this is not going to be perfect, but it'll be pretty darn close. That I go across like this, and now this is taking me to that 45-degree mark. All right, this is keeping semi, it's hard to do with the mouse, but semi close to that mark. Now that I found my latitudinal line, now I have to find my longitudinal line, which is 110 degrees west. If I look over here, I see this is 140, all right, and then I drop down to 130, 120, and 110. I follow this 110 line up, and I see that it intersects with this line right in this area. And so that's where I'm actually going to put my location. So here, I'm going to put right at the corner of this box right here, I'm going to write number 1, and then I have to write, as it says on here, Rocky Mountains. It is okay if you abbreviate mountains so that it looks like this. Now I have filled in this first location, and I put it in as the Rocky Mountains. Now in number 2, the Arctic Ocean. The Arctic Ocean is at 80 degrees north by 140 degrees west. Now, as I said, the first thing that we want to start out with is our latitudinal lines. Here is 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and then here is 80. Now, it's not marked on this sheet. It is marked on your map that you have in front of you, but we know because we're counting according to tens, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, that this line has to be 80. So I know that it has to stay on this line, and the next thing I have to find is the longitudinal line where it intersects. Now, this line right here, all right, if I look left to right, or if I look right to left, excuse me, 90, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, 130, and look at how it jumps up here to 140. And then I follow that 140 up to that curved line right here, and I should end up right in this spot. Again, I'll add it in there for you so you can see right where it's at. I'm going to use the top of my box, the very corner of my box, to note where it belongs. Sorry about that. And I'm going to take it off. Let me get rid of that one. So here you can see I've put the corner of the box at my mark where 140 and 80 degrees north and 140 degrees west intersect. And you see my corner of my box right here. And now I'm going to mark it as number 2 and then Arctic Ocean. On your paper, you have to put the full word, Arctic Ocean. We cannot abbreviate, and we cannot just put number 2. We have to actually put the full word there. So you can see I have number 1 and number 2, Arctic Ocean. Number 3, the Appalachian Mountains, is located at 40 degrees north and 77 degrees west. Once again, I'm going to move up to this 40 degrees north mark. I follow it across, and I see that it goes all the way over. Here is 50 degrees north. So I want to make sure that I'm just a little bit above this. Now, even though it doesn't say 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, and so on, all right, I know that they are still there, just as a line spectrum as it moves through. So I'm going to go 40 degrees north, and then I want to find my longitudinal line, which is 77 degrees west. If I look here, I see down here this is 70, and then over here this line is 80. A common mistake that students make is they go to this 70 and then move to the right because we're used to counting left to right. Now we know because this line is 80 and this line is 70, I have to move to the left on this. So again, I'm looking at that about 44 degrees north, which is about right here in this area. And then I know that this is 70, so I'm going to move over, all right, to about this point right here. All right, and I know that that area is going to be my Appalachian Mountains. So now all I have to do is mark it. Once again, I'll use the top left corner of my box to mark that. You guys will mark it with an X or a dot. So here's the top corner of my box. I'm going to drag it down over here. Again, I'm going to write number 3, and I'm going to mark it with Appalachian Mountains. Okay, number 4. Number 4 is the Pacific Ocean. It is 40 degrees north and 130 degrees west. Notice I'm staying on this 40 degree line. All right, most of my places are going to be in this area. So here's 40 degrees north and 130 degrees west. I see that it's following all the way up here, and where these two lines intersect, right here at this corner, that's where I'm going to put the top left corner of my box. Here's the corner of my box right here. You guys are going to mark it with a dot. I'm going to write number 4 and mark it as the Pacific Ocean. Notice I'm not using any abbreviations. I'm putting the full name of it. This way, when we go through and grade it, it's much easier to grade, and I should also be able to tell that you know exactly where it's at because your dot or X is at the exact location. The last one that we're going to do together is the Colorado River. The Colorado River is 35 degrees north and 115 degrees west. Now, a rule of thumb here, as we're doing rivers, as we're doing oceans, as we're doing mountains, it should correspond to what we see on the map. Look at all the squiggly lines. These squiggly lines represent rivers. Out here, we know that this area is an ocean. If I'm on a peninsula, I should be in a physical feature that looks like a peninsula. If I'm on a landform, I should be in land. And if I'm on a body of water, I should be in water. All right, we see that these areas are water, this area is water. So when I'm looking for the Colorado River, I want to make sure that I'm going to be on one of these squiggly lines. Now the Colorado River is 35 degrees north and 115 degrees west. Starting out at the bottom, I know that this is 10 degrees north, 20 degrees north, 30 degrees north. I'm going to work up about 5 degrees on this, and I know that I should be running through this area here. So 35 degrees north, and then 115 degrees west. 70 degrees west, 80 degrees, 90, 100. I move over to 115. I move over, okay, so 100, 110. I move over to 115 by 35. I want to make sure that I'm just about in the middle, in the very middle of this box right here. So right here. Again, I'm going to use the top left corner of my box to designate that area. And look at my corner of my box is going to be going right there. All right, right on that corner of that river, and I'm going to mark it as number 5, Colorado River. Luckily, I have spell check on this. So, as you can see, when we're using longitude and latitude, we always want to start out with this latitude line first and then use this longitude line. We want to make sure that we always use the numbers and the name, and we're going to clearly designate our absolute location with a dot or an X so that we know that you know exactly where it's at. If you're still struggling with using longitude and latitude, please see Miss Mahoney or myself, and we can clarify and keep on working to make sure that we are very good at this. You will be using longitude and latitude for the following 10 questions on challenge 1 and then 15 questions on challenge 2.